YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today, we're ranking the top 5 players by position based off the 2021 regular season, a video we do every single year. We also do it every halfway point of the season. So we did it already this year. Now the updated version based on the entire regular season. I'll do a top 100 list, and that'll be based off regular season and playoffs. Put the whole season together. I usually do that every year after the Super Bowl. So a little different, but always fun here. So we'll compare to the midseason rankings as well. Any of these guys weren't in the top 5. Were they in the top 5? Where were they ranked? We'll see where the movement was there. Did a similar video for quarterbacks, ranked all the quarterbacks. We got all kinds of playoff coverage and off-season content on the channel. Check it out. Important links pinned in the comments, including our Twitter. A lot going on there. So, yeah, check it out. Quarterbacks. We did our quarterback rankings last week, so it's the same thing from the video, the top 5. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were 1A, 1B, kind of both at the top there. Put Rodgers at 1, ability to take care of the ball. Very accurate with the ball. Puts him at 1. Tom Brady, sensational season as well. Joe Burrow made his way up to number 3. He was not ranked in the top 5 the last time we did this video. Justin Herbert also was not. He's at 4. It's just kind of a shame he didn't make the playoffs because how well he played. Got to get the man some help. His receivers led the NFL in drops with a whopping 38, so they got to do some work there. And then Josh Allen, number 5, and Josh Allen, just with one playoff game, already kind of climbing the board to set himself up for that top 100 rankings I do at the end of every full season, so after the Super Bowl. And that plays a part in the top 100 because we're just talking about players regardless of position. I want, the most important time of the year to be factored in, playoffs and Super Bowls. So Josh Allen, of course, helping himself there, and he was number 5 quarterback on the regular season for me. Running back Jonathan Taylor, far and away the number 1 with a fantastic year. Definitely a candidate for Offensive Player of the Year. Joe Mixon was number 2. Some games where the Bengals got to win the game with their passing game, Burrow and those weapons, but Joe Mixon went ahead and did it. And I like his involvement in catching the ball in the backfield, downfield as well. Nick Chubb, 3. And then factor in the Browns, we're using them less and less at the end of the year for some weird reason or at the end of games. So Damian Harris makes his way on the list. Touchdown machine. Yeah, not a lot of yardage between all the running backs this year. So a couple guys that were very consistent around in the red zone, around the end zone, Damian Harris and James Conner. I like James Conner's involvement in the passing game as well. So maybe a little bit surprising, something we didn't really expect. So he kind of went on a tear there. Was a little beat up at the end of the year, so that kind of hurt him a little bit, but some guys that weren't ranked. Receivers, I did my awards recently, and I'm actually leaning Deebo Samuel as Offensive Player of the Year, just how important he is to that offense in his involvement as a receiver and a runner. But if we're ranking straight up receivers, I got Cooper Kupp as the best receiver on the year. Crazy route running, understands zone coverage, and to find the open zone. Just a dominant player this year at the receiver position. So I got Cooper Kupp. He stays ranked 1. Deebo Samuel at 2. Devontae Adams, who I think in general is the best receiver in football, remains at 3. Justin Jefferson was barely not ranked last time, and then he had a great second half of the year. Made his way in, and the same thing kind of goes for Jamar Chase, who could be the best receiver in football in a matter of a year or so. So you see the 2 LSU guys there, 4-5. 2 youngsters. So there's our top 5 for receivers after the regular season. Tight ends, I had Mark Andrews at 1 before. I had him again. I thought he had a phenomenal season. In the past, only flaw was randomly he would have a pretty bad drop show up. Not a lot, but randomly. I thought this was his best year. Always showing up in those big moments, the go-to guy, 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, 2-point conversions. Just so key. Just knows how to get open as well. It's their top. They're really their top playmaker. Travis Kelce too, another great season for him with his production. George Kittle really got going after coming back from injury, so he finds his way to number 3. Dallas Goedert, 4. Yeah, I thought he had a great season. Really good after the catch. Really stood out to me after the catch as well. And Kyle Pitts, wish he was used a little more in the red zone, but racked up the yards. 1,000-yard tight end is our rookie. Pretty damn impressive. There's quite a few other guys too. Hunter Henry was one, racked up some touchdowns. There's quite a few guys we can go on about, but those are the guys in the top 5. Tackles, Trent Williams remains at 1. Just a dominant season for him at the left tackle position. Tristan Wirfs, the Bucks right tackle, goes from 4 to 2. Lane Johnson wasn't ranked last time, 3. Fantastic season from him. Glad to see him playing healthy, too. Brian O'Neill was fantastic second half of the year. I mean, such dominant run-blocking tackle. And then was fantastic pass protection as well. And Tyrone Smith remains on the top 5 list. We'll take a look at the rest of the linemen, including centers and guards. We have the interior offensive lineman. Zach Martin, 1, who was 2 last time. Batonio, now number 2. Joe Tooney, I really liked his season. It was a big-time pickup with the Chiefs. We're still seeing him rolling. Seems like he can fill in different spots. The offensive line play at a high level if you need him to as well. Quentin Nelson, big reason why that run offense is so good, because the blocking, obviously, and the truck-size holes that they create, led by Quentin Nelson there. Creed Humphrey, another Chiefs player, I thought was the best center, so we snuck him in here on the interior offensive line list, remains in number 5. Out of the defensive side here, defensive lineman Aaron Donald went from 2 to 1. Of course, he's going to finish the year 1, taking on double teams, triple teams, beating them, even just such a disruptor there. Same with Cam Hayward. I thought he had a monster year. Started to think Cam Hayward's going to start to decline, right? No, he's playing out of his mind still. Maybe even better this year. So he's number 2. Jeffrey Simmons was 1 after the first half of the year, was on a absolute tear the first half of the season there, but then maybe slow down a little bit, but still, again, another guy that's disrupting inside, in the pocket, stops to run at a high level. Vita Vea, to give some love to the nose tackles, just an elite run stopper, but collapses the pocket quite a bit as well. Always see him just driving those blockers back. He's not going to beat them with pass rush moves, quickness off the side. He can, but most part he's just going to use his strength. Maybe overall the strongest guy on defense in football here. Chris Jones, number 5. DeForest Buckner just missed the cut. Tough guy to keep off the list. But, yeah, Chris Jones, once the Chiefs put him in the right position, they kind of had him playing D-end earlier in the year. When they put him back in the interior, he started to take off there. So if you played there the whole year, talking about him, maybe even ranked better than 5 here. On to the edge rusher, some really good ones. TJ Watt finishes at 1. Was 4 midseason, was missing a few games leading up to that midseason ranking, or a couple games, so that definitely played a part there. But just went absolutely wild at the second half of the year, tied that record, 22.5 sacks. So obviously very impressive there. Nick Bosa, number 2. On top of the sack production, he's in the backfield making plays, tackle for losses, racking those up. Showing that he can play a big part in the run game as well, and constantly getting pressure. Myles Garrett, 3. Started at 1. Did start the season a little better than he finished, but still very good. Robert Quinn, let down last year, extremely productive this year. Just weird, better without Khalil Mack in there. I don't know how, that doesn't really make any sense, but that's what it looked like. But really was fantastic for the Bears to keep their defense solid. Joey Bosa comes in at 5. I like Bosa, I like the season he had. People would say maybe he had a better year, different year. I like this season a lot, because something I did notice that I didn't like, even though I thought he was great, in the past, is he dominates the tackle in front of him. He might be the best in football. Always said this. He might be the best in football at just working that guy, beating that guy. But a big problem was finishing. Did he have the closing speed or the closing athleticism? Maybe he's athletic. He's pretty damn athletic to finish the plays. I saw a lot more finishing this year, knocking the ball out a lot, which is huge as well, creating plays for, really his team, his offense there. So I like the season from Joey Bosa there. He comes in at 5. On to the linebackers. Micah Parsons, who you can consider as an edge rusher as well. Slightly more snaps at the linebacker position. That's because there's really one edge position to play, and at the linebacker, he can play outside or inside. So he had slightly more snaps at linebacker if you combine those two positions. So we rank him as a linebacker. But yeah, just a monster rookie season. I love those size players that it's kind of like it's the pre-snap type of player. You have to worry about. You have to line up, and the quarterback's got to figure out he's lining up on the edge. Is he actually coming? Is he dropping back? He's lined up at linebacker. Is he blitzing? Is he dropping it? What the hell is he doing? So it's just that type of guy that gets in your head. And sometimes those guys kind of just help their teammates feast, and they don't get a ton of production themselves, but he had a ton of production himself. So Mike Parsons had a fantastic season. Darius Leonard, it's kind of like it feels like another number one. How is he not number one? Mike Parsons had a ridiculous year, but Darius Leonard all over the place. getting his hands on the ball, whether it's forcing fumbles, getting interceptions. Is just a fantastic playmaker. So he helped himself in the second half of the year. Demario Davis, big piece of that Saints defense, flying around the backfields, whether it's blitz or on run plays, dropping in coverage. So fantastic year. Devondre Campbell really helped the Packers defense improve. So I really like that addition in his kind of breakout year. And then Roquan Smith of the Bears, who feels like he's getting better and better here. So could we see him at the top next year there in Chicago? So he's at number 5. Those are the linebackers who had a fantastic year. Those guys. That's a good list right there of players. Corners, pretty tough. A mixture of playmakers and lockdown guys here. Put Jalen Ramsey at the top. I think he's just the best corner in football. You factor in run support as well. And, he's at the top of that list as well. A good mixture of cover 3, cover 4 for the Rams there. You can cover 4 mainly from that defense, and he plays at a very high level. Very much feared, throw away from. A.J. Terrell was a lockdown guy this year. When teams did throw towards him, he can get his hands on the ball too. He had a fantastic year. So it's kind of the lockdown guys at the top. And then we got a guy that's kind of a mixture of a lockdown guy and a playmaking guy. I really like Kenny Moore from the Colts. Originally just a slot corner. They got to have him play outside as well, playing all over the place. And that corner group could be a little weak at times, but he kind of carries that group just all over the field. So I really like his game. Then a couple of the playmaker guys, Trevon Diggs, who had an incredible year getting his hands on the ball, taking the ball away, helping his offense, putting him in a great position. He did drop down a little bit from 1 to 4 because he was giving up a little more production through the air at the end of the year, there's a big debate out there between half the world seems to be split. Trevon Diggs great, and the rest of people rip him. There's like no one really in the middle. I think some people need to understand the coverages. The difference in coverages. When it comes to Trevon Diggs. He did get second half. That's why he dropped. Second half of the year, he got beat a little bit more. That's why he dropped. It's not a good thing. But the Cowboys ran a stupid amount of man coverage, like too much man coverage. And just understanding the difference of playing corner at when playing that much man coverage, and then when teams start to watch film and predict and understand that, hey, they're in man coverage. It's really hard. One of the hardest things to do in football, maybe the hardest thing, is play man coverage at the cornerback position. So, you're going to give up more yards. So if these other guys played, Jalen Ramsey's the best corner in football, I think, plain simple. But if Jalen Ramsey played man coverage as much as Trevon Diggs did, he wouldn't give up as many yards. I think Jalen Ramsey's the best corner in football, but he would actually give up a lot more than you think. And I don't know who comes up with how many specific. Every number I see is different. And there's a reason for that, but specific number of yards given up, it's pretty easy to tell a man in zone. People will have different opinions. Was that his guy? You have to recognize what type of zone coverage you're in. Where was his area? There's only a tight window where it's considered a catch let up on your part and yards on your part. So that is why the zone guys are going to have way less production allowed. So I think people are going off that a little too much there. And then J.C. Jackson, another playmaker for the Patriots, of course. And again, he had some sloppy moments here that stood out late in the year, just like Diggs, where he'd give up a play. But just such a big-time playmaker, just instincts, knowing when to attack the ball, have the athleticism to do it. Because these receivers and quarterbacks so good these days. So a couple of playmakers there. Had to sneak them in there, though. More a fan of the lockdown guys that can also make the clutch plays there. Jalen Ramsey at the top. Safeties. Safeties were weird this year. I might have talked about this last time. There are some guys playing out of their mind, at the safety position, just playing at such a high level. And then there's a drop-off where safety play across the league is pretty bad this year. But these guys at the top, and there's more guys than just this that played pretty well as well. We can talk about a number of guys, but I like Jesse Bates, I like Quandre Diggs, Harrison Smith, some guys along those lines there. But the top 5, Kevin Byard had a fantastic year. The Titans defense really elevated himself, just a playmaking guy. They switch up their coverages, very smart in coverage. The two Bills guys, they're playing the best. These guys have been around for a long time, it feels like now, because they have been, and they're playing the best they've ever played. So are they entering their prime now at this age? Pretty wild. Micah Hyde, fantastic safety from the Bills. Jordan Poyer, fantastic. I was mixing Hyde and Poyer for some reason. Fantastic safety. A lot of split safety, so sometimes you look at it, you really can't consider one the free, one the strong. There's a lot of split action, but when they're not, it does seem like Hyde's more of the free, Poyer is more of the strong, but just fantastic. I mean, elite safety duo. Justin Simmons, fantastic free safety, plays a lot of single high free, which is kind of, he's by himself and no man's land there, so tough task, does a great job. And Derwin James, more of the strong safety around the box, can man coverage guys at the line, press them. So he's been fantastic for the Chargers. Good to see him stay healthy for the most part there. So some these safeties been playing great, and we see Byard still alive in the playoffs. See that Bills duo still alive in the playoffs. I mean, and I noticed that in the wild card round, a lot of the safeties were just making the biggest plays, across the wild card round. You look at Jesse Bates with the Bengals, Micah Hyde with the Bills. The Bucs safeties were all over the place. Those guys were close to making the list as well. You got to give a shout out to Winfield, and Whitehead was fantastic this year. Jordan Whitehead was fantastic, actually not too far in the rankings from the top 5 on his season. So safety play, if you have a top tier safety, it really can boost your defense. It's showing that now. So we'll see how teams approach that in the offseason maybe. That wraps up my top 5 at each position. Love doing this video. We do it every year, twice a year, halfway through the season, at the end of the season as well. More rankings, but after the year, my top 100 is based off the regular season and the playoffs and the Super Bowls. So I like for everything to play a part. So that's always fun. Can't wait to do that. All kinds of playoff content, all kinds of offseason content already underway. Plenty more to come covering free agency and the draft. We got you here. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. Very important. Links pinned in the comments. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.